right, welcome everyone to our webinar. We want to thank everyone for being with us. And we are the Milk Bank, and we are kicking off Fund Announce tonight. And just to give you a very quick background on the Milk Bank, we are a community-based milk bank, and everything we do centers around helping babies celebrate their first birthday. Fund Announce is our largest fundraiser and friend raiser, which means we are raising dollars and we are also reaching a wider network. This is our opportunity to spread our mission, share our stories, and introduce people to the life-saving work that the Milk Bank does. It's a peer-to-peer campaign, which means we rely on the strengths of our networks, our friends, our families, co-workers, community connections to help us raise funds and awareness. And we do this because the milk donor is just the beginning. The funds raised during this campaign support our bereavement program, where we hold space for families who have suffered an infant loss. It supports our medical relief, which helps outpatient families access safe pasteurized donor milk by removing financial barriers. It also helps us cover critical operational costs, like our milk donor blood kits, which cost around $150 each, and that's just one step of our multi-step milk donor screening. This campaign allows us to build a future where more babies celebrate their first birthdays, and thank you for being a part of that. And with that, I'm going to pass it along to my colleague Scholar, and she is going to go over some details about this campaign.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm Scholar. As Amy said, this is why we are doing Fund Announce, because of we want to be able to continue supporting our wraparound services for our families and help us continue to provide safe pastures, donor human milk. And I'm here to basically help you fundraise, help you get started. I'm here to provide you with resources and tips that are literally at your fingertips that you can easily do. And to get us started, we're going to go over templates and graphics. That's literally right there for you. All you have to do is just click your resource tab. We're going to go over how to craft a message for your specific network. And we're going to really go over how to leverage one of a day called World Human Milk Donation Day and some other avenues that you have not yet maybe explored or thought about. So to get us started, yeah, you have literally on your resource tab ready to use graphics and captions. All you have to do is click that resource tab and you will get a full list of ready to go graphics that have stats, stories, donor quotes. All you have to do is click preview that file and then download that file, and you can plop that file on any social media platform, any email platform, any text message platform. But this is just a way for you guys to interact and really tell your story even more, and as well as tell the milk bank story. You can also use the QGIF email platform as well. And that also has customized email templates too, if you don't want to use an external email platform. Now we're going to talk about crafting a message for your network, right? So to get us started, first you need to identify who your supporters are. Think about the people in your life. Think about your friends, family, coworkers, community groups, social media followers. And then now think about how they might want to support you. How is that going to look like? How does that reach out look like? Tailor your message based on who you're reaching out. Some people may respond better to a personal text or an email, while others may prefer seeing a post or story. So really think about who your audience is and how you're going to reach out to them. Now we're going to talk about crafting the message. So how is that going to look like? Make sure it's personal. Make sure you're telling them who you are to the milk bank, whether you're a milk donor, a milk recipient, a board member, a committee member. Make sure that you're telling your audience who you are to them and your why. Why does this matter to you? And then as well as making sure you have a very clear ask. As a fundraiser, I do this every day. I always forget to make my ask clear. So make sure you're having a very clear ask. It's so easy to forget that, but people tend to take action when you ask for a specific dollar amount. And you can also even have an option. Let's say maybe you're like, what if that person doesn't want to give another option of, hey, you can repost my story, share my message, making sure that you have a clear action that someone can take after you've told them your beautiful story. That's what matters. And then after that, make it easy. So make sure your link is you have instructions on how to get your link. So if you use Instagram, making sure to say, hey, click that link on my bio to access my page, or click that link below to donate. And as well, thank them at the end. And if you want to go an extra mile, you can follow up with a personal thank you as well. So making sure that you are, like I said, first identifying your audience, and then as well as then figuring out how you're going to reach your audience. Now, when it comes to crafting the message, making sure you're making it personal, and then making sure you have a clear ask, a specific dollar amount, such as $5 provides X amount of feedings. Make it easy for them and then thank them afterwards. And then now we're going to talk about World Human Milk Donation Day. This is the perfect day to ask for donations and bring awareness. This is a day about us on May 19th. It's about what we do. So make sure you're posting fun facts. Make sure you're posting on your story. Make sure you're telling people who and why you're doing this. If you don't want to post on a random Tuesday, this is the perfect day that you can post, and it doesn't seem odd that you're posting about your story. You can even have a mini goal for that day. You can say, hey, I'm asking for $19 donations, or hey, I'm going to ask 19 people to donate. And the most important thing, make sure you tag us. We want to be able to share your efforts and repost it. We're also going to be posting and celebrating that day. So we want to be able to post and celebrate you too. So just those are some few tips and advice that you can use to just leverage your story. And then as well as get creative, use your hobbies and talents. You're about to hear from one of our amazing board members who our CEO is going to introduce, and she used her talents to help us raise funds to benefit the milk bank. So think about, if you're a yoga instructor and you love yoga and you want to do a virtual yoga class and all the proceeds go to the milk bank, do that. Get creative. Think outside the box that you even thought. You don't have to just post or ask. You can do something else. And we can help support you through that too as well. So yeah, I'm going to let Freedom, our CEO, like I said, introduce our next guest speaker.
Hi, everyone. Special thanks to all of our lifesavers for stepping up. As Amy mentioned and Scholar shared, Fund an Ounce is our largest fundraiser that actually fuels our mission every day, but it's also our largest fundraiser. And one of my personal whys I'm at the milk bank is really think about how the public is very familiar with blood banking and organ donation, but less familiar with milk banking and our life-saving work. So everyone we reach is another opportunity for us to save a life, and you're all doing that. So thank you so much. I wonder if Kristen might be feeling a little nervous right now, because I actually reached out to her and said, can I just introduce you how I know you instead of sharing the bio? And she graciously agreed. Because I know her as an amazing human, friend of the milk bank and a personal mentor of mine. She has an incredible bio. I'm sure she would let you all visit her on LinkedIn. But she's the type of woman and leader that just appears when someone needs her and sits with you through whatever is going on. She has an incredible NICU story herself. She's one of our board members. She has taught social media classes for us. She's done all sorts of work while managing her own family, her own career, entrepreneurism, and an ultra marathoner. So she just is the warmest person and someone that I look to when I need balance in my life and reality and empathy. She's not one to sugarcoat, but she's one to come alongside. And so we couldn't think of anyone better to feature on this work and to kind of celebrate Fund an Ounce than Kristen. So Kristen, thank you for joining us. We're delighted to have you and share all of your tips from your successful fundraising background. And I get to kick us off with the first question, which kind of leans into some of what I've just said. We know that you are so passionate about the milk bank, but can you share with everyone here a little bit about your personal why?
Absolutely. So first of all, I was starting to get a little teary-eyed from your introduction. That was very kind of you. And I love it. I love that that's how you view me. So that's great. So I first found out about the milk bank when I was in the NICU with my son. He was not premature. He had dangerously low blood sugar, and it didn't resolve in the few days we were there at the beginning of the pandemic. So they moved him to the NICU, and then we ended up there for about 3 weeks. While I was there, I was, frantic. I had no clue that I was going to the NICU. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know how to navigate it. I didn't know how to be there, honestly, and like what to know, what to ask, all of these things. And so as we went through that experience, I joined a bunch of groups and I was kind of trying to just navigate and figure this all out. And one of the things that kept coming up was about donor milk. People were asking questions. They want to give my baby this milk. I don't know if it's okay. Like, and I saw that a lot. And so after we were done with the NICU experience, my husband and I decided to start a nonprofit to try and help parents navigate going through the NICU experience. And one of the things that we wanted to do was talk to people about donor milk and make sure, like, educate them that this was a thing and it's totally safe and it's great. And if your baby needs it, it's going to be amazing. And so I reached out to Freedom and she was like, yes, let's figure out a way to partner. And so that was sort of my first, foray into working with the milk bank. But then after that, I also became a milk donor because I had an oversupply and I was so happy that I could sign up and do that as well. And I remember like videoing my first drop off, at the location here in St. Louis. So that's kind of how I got involved. And I just feel so incredibly strongly about this organization and what it does for families and women and babies and all of it. And I just love it.
That's great. I actually have the next question, Kristen. So you wear many hats and you're a board member for the Milk Bank. You're a mompreneur. I think I have that pronounced right. So a mom and an entrepreneur. You're an advocate. How do you balance all of that and still find time to give back to the Milk Bank and raise funds for the Milk Bank?
I think we find time for the things that matter to us. I tell this to my athletes all the time because they're busy, they're moms, they're, trying to figure out how to balance a training schedule and tell their families like, sorry, I got to be gone. I'm doing this thing for myself. And that is a question that comes up a lot. And it's not like you can just make time appear, but I think when something is really important to you, you prioritize it and you figure out a way to make sure that it fits in. You just do. And so I think, that's where, when I was going to, maybe I'm jumping the gun, but when I was going to, be running this 100-mile race, it started to feel really important that a way that I could even better serve the milk bank other than being a board member, which I love, but it's just like wanting to just do more and like just do more, was that I could dedicate the run and the miles that I'm running to the milk bank and ask for funding, in order to do that and sort of support in that way. And so I reached out to you guys and you were like, sure, like, let's figure it out, and so that's kind of how we did it. But I think in general, it's just you make time for what you need to do.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And then my question is, you have a lot of experience in leveraging social media and the digital space to bring people together and make a difference, right? And so what are some best tips for, someone getting started? Yeah.
So it's scary. People are scared to share themselves just in general, but and share themselves online, especially if they haven't done a lot of it. And so those first times that you decide to tell a story or tell your story, it can feel a little overwhelming. Like, how are people going to react? What if no one reacts? What if, all the things. And so I think that's the first thing is sort of just like accepting that it might be a little scary, but you can do it anyways. It's this whole, we can do hard things. And like, it might be one of those things that you're kind of terrified of, but you want to do it because you know that it can make a difference. And so kind of like accepting that. And then the other thing is, I think the biggest thing for me on social media is like, I can tell when someone's not being authentic, and so I think just really like getting like in touch with yourself and what you're doing and why you're doing and all the things that Scholar was talking about, like that is super important. And so if you kind of know, but you don't totally know, that's a time for you to like spend some time writing down, talking to other people, just really getting clear on what is it that makes you want to keep doing this? Like you are using your time to serve the milk bank. So like, what is that? And it'll be a lot easier to tell your story when you feel really clear on that. And then, you can leverage some help. So like, if you're not a writer and you feel like, okay, I don't know how to do this, like Chat GPT, right? Or like other things where you can say, this is what I want to do. This is the tone. This is who I am. Can you please help me write this thing? And it will. And then you can tweak it, or you can, and so I think that's a good tool, and people don't have to feel like, oh man, if I didn't write the whole thing, it's not real. Like, use whatever you can to get going and get your message out there. And then another thing I'll say is you have to do it a lot. You can't just do it once and then be done. Like, I know that's probably something people don't want to hear, but in marketing, it's repetition. It's like a lot of times. Like when I was posting about my run, I posted a lot of times, and I sent emails, and I posted again, and I posted on all the different sites that I'm on. And I posted in groups. Like, I would share my post to neighborhood groups or running groups. And I got some people to support it who I didn't even know, who just were excited about what I was doing, maybe in the running community or in my neighborhood, and wanted to support it. So, that's part of it too, is like kind of sharing widely as well as sharing often. And I know people feel like, but I'm going to be annoying and people don't want to see that and whatever, but people aren't seeing all your posts all the time. The algorithm is funny. So you could post every single day, even probably the same thing, and people aren't going to see it. Like, not everyone's going to see it. So it's good to just kind of remember that and think like, I'm just doing this as more of a practice of like, okay, I'm going to do this frequently and not worry so much about how it might come off.
I love how honest you are. Because I think a lot of people want to be like, oh, fundraising isn't scary, but it is kind of scary sometimes. So this is exactly why I think you're the perfect person to highlight. The other thing when you say like you have to post a lot, and people one of the biggest fears is folks do think they're going to be annoying. And like one of the things I do like to counter that is, when have you ever had a friend, colleague, family member that is doing great good in the world and you're like, they're so annoying? Like, I think a lot of times you're seen as an inspiration for being out there making a difference. And Kristen, I know you are all the time. So honoring kind of the answer is, be authentic, get out there, take some risk. Sometimes it is just overwhelming and scary to get started. So what is your top tips just for like the next thing folks have to do to get started?
So, I mean, it kind of what we were talking about before, like getting clear on your why, like knowing your story, maybe coming up with a couple of different ways of talking about it. That's what I did when I was talking about my race. So, at first I'm talking about the race and how hard it is and how I think about how hard it is for families going through the NICU. And then later I brought in more of my story and kind of relayed, just how difficult and uncertain it was to go through that NICU experience, and how that also is how I feel, preparing for this race. So if you're using like another thing, it kind of helps to tie it together. But I think make a plan, like figure out your story, first of all. And you can be as organized about it as you want. Maybe you use a tool, if you use some sort of project management tool, or even just your own like Google Sheets or whatever, and make a plan for, okay, I'm going to post about this on this day, and kind of like that might help you feel a little bit more organized and knowing what you're going to say, and knowing that if you have a plan, maybe you're not posting, every day, but you're posting a couple of times a week. And then you can actually schedule them too. On most social media sites, that's really great. So you don't have to like hang around and be like, okay, like when should I do it? Just write them, get your images, which you guys have provided a lot of great things, and you can use your own stuff, and then schedule them to go out. That way you don't even think about it anymore. And you can just kind of like monitor it and, respond. So that's a big thing too, is people like engagement. And so if once it is posted and people are responding, try if you can to get back to it and at least say like, comment something back. And another thing is like, take note of who's liking it, right? And who's kind of paying attention, because then you can reach out further to them and say like, thanks for, liking my post, and, would love to talk to you more about it if you want to, or what, something like that too. So yeah, I think it's just like, anytime we start something new, a lot of it is accepting it might be challenging and scary, and saying it's okay that it is. So like, I'm okay. Like, it's okay that this is hard. And then making a plan so that you feel just energized by the fact that you are kind of on top of it and you know what you're doing, and then you can like schedule it and go from there.
Yeah, I love those tips. I think we definitely hear from a lot of people that sometimes it's scary to ask, and which I think is kind of the question that I have is, and you may have answered this, but if specifically somebody is just really nervous to ask family or friends, um, is there anything else you might kind of add to kind of help give them the empowerment that they need to make that ask?
Yes. So people want to support you. People like to be given a chance to do something for you, to care for you. I mean, this is a big thing for me in my relationships. I believe so strongly in this idea that like, if someone wants to give you something, you take it, because it's not only that, it's helping you, but it's helping them, and it's strengthening your relationship, and it's building more trust. So I think it's like trusting that the people you have in your circle and in your life want to help. They want to be there for you. Give them an opportunity to show up for you, in a way that maybe they haven't before. Whether that is just sharing it more, or like participating in the dialogue, or giving. So I think, that's like a mindset shift. It's not like, oh, I'm asking them, they're going to be annoyed. It's too much. Like, they probably don't want to see this. They're too busy. They're too this, they're too that. Have you ever had a time where someone asked you to help and you were like, oh, I mean, no, like, the people you love, when they reach out to you, you're happy. You're like, you thought of me, and you care, you think, you know how much I care about you. And so you would ask me to do this for you. So it's just kind of about that, I think, is really like embodying this idea that people want to do something for you and for the things that you care about.
Yes, I love that. It's a mindset shift. I love that. I think that's all the questions I had. Freedom or Scholar, any more questions?
Kristen, I would just, if there's anything else you want to share, or any celebration of your great success, or ahas, I think that would be great. And then we can wrap up right on time.
Yeah, I think, like I was kind of saying, when I decided to sort of dedicate my run to this cause, um, it it not only, was a way for me to give more to the milk bank and do something extra, but it was also like a way for me to put just a lot more emphasis on what I was doing and like why I was doing it, and kind of have an even greater why to my other whys of why I run so many miles. And so I think, being able to pair those things was really special, and it helped me while I was doing the hard thing to think about it. And my pacers, the people who came and ran with me, which are women that I coach, they were able to use that. They're like, remember, for the babies, like, it was like brought up a few times. And so I think that's really special. So when in this case, where we have like an actual, campaign going on, if you decide to do something and get creative and do something that has personal meaning to you, it kind of raises that even more. And I think that's really special, to be like, I'm doing this, but I'm doing this for multiple reasons, and, kind of remembering that. And then, yeah, I was so happy I raised, close to $1,500. And I mean, it was mostly, I posted a few times on all the social medias that I'm on, which is, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I also sent a couple email blasts to friends and family, with just more of a specific ask. But one of the things I did that I hadn't done before is that now you can actually share posts within groups, because they're really pushing groups on Facebook. So I was able to share it in some of the groups that I'm in. And that kind of cast a wider net too, and, allowed for some people, again, that maybe aren't just like my immediate folks, to participate. So I had someone from the ultra running group donate, and then, check in. And then I had some people from my neighborhood group do the same. So just don't forget that that's an opportunity that you can do that. And that, again, people want to help. People want to help. And so even when you're doing that in groups that are not your like close friends and family, it can be a way for people to be like, you'd be surprised, you know, people just sometimes they're like, oh, I had a baby in the NICU. Like this means a lot to me. I want to check this out, or, you know, something like that. And you just never know until you talk about it, who around you has like some kind of connection. And so it's kind of just one of those things, like sharing is always a good idea. Because it, you know, it brings people together. So that's what I got.
I love that. I also, when like I'm out asking, oftentimes will say, you know, I'm not asking folks to give to me or really even to the milk bank. I'm asking them to give through us to the babies who need us. So that really resonates. Thank you so much, Kristen. I knew this would be magic. I'll turn it back over to Amy and Scholar for a close.
You want me to close it up, Scholar? So we have on here our contact information. So both Scholar and I are here to help. We have our emails as well as our personal cell phones if you'd like to give us a text. And then we are sending out the bi-weekly Lifesaver Crew emails. So those emails will have more tips in it. And then don't forget to check out the resource section of your QGive fundraising page. That is where all of those graphics and other items that Scholar mentioned are posted. And I think that's it. All right.
Awesome. That was
Yeah.
so great, guys. Good job.
Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone.